Ah, the good old times. I was recently in a mood to play Skyrim, and as I was playing it, it reminded me of a time where Bethesda was a well-received company instead of being a subject of complete joke and ridicule. The backlash is deserved though, considering the stupid actions they've been taking for a long while now. But I wanted to return to a time where that wasn't really happening. A time where Bethesda was developing and releasing games that many people fell in love with. Although with that being said, the games had a fair share of problems, but they had a certain aspect that made you keep coming back, and I'll get into that in a bit. I'll be using Skyrim as a main example. Now, you've probably noticed through my footage that I'm using graphical mods because whether you're playing the special edition or not, the vanilla game leaves certain things to be desired. Although at the time of this game's release, it was a pretty hefty upgrade over Oblivion in certain aspects. Although it has aged in a lot of areas, so chances are you're gonna mod it. But even though the visuals have aged, does that mean the gameplay has? Well, the thing about Skyrim's gameplay is that there were a lot of aspects that weren't necessarily masterful. For example, the combat was just serviceable. I didn't think it was terrible or unplayable, it got the job done, but it was just a bit meh. You were usually just face tanking damage or walking back and forth to bait out enemy offense so you could retaliate with your own attacks. And upping the difficulty just made enemies much tankier and you much squishier, which I wasn't a big fan of. There just wasn't a huge sense of engagement from offense and defense, so once again you've most likely got a mod to change that. And that's just melee combat. Then you may wish that Bethesda expanded on magic or enchantment, so you may get mods to alter that as well. Then once you think you're set, you keep finding things to change, like the loot. You may find weapons you like, but the armor selection is lacking of worthy options depending on your build. So you get mods to add more variety, and that's the thing. You keep finding things that you wish Bethesda put more thought into or did a better job with. The base game would have its problems and mods were there to fix it. And speaking of fixing, my lord is there a lot of bug fixes. But that's the thing, even with all these issues, people enjoyed these games from Bethesda tremendously for a strong reason. It's because of their worlds. Bethesda was really good at creating worlds that players got attached to. You'd quickly immerse yourself and get lost inside them because of the quest lines and adventuring. And I'm not here to compare the quests of Skyrim to Oblivion or Morrowind. I'm just here to state that they're enjoyable one way or the other. And sure, Skyrim is generic fantasy where you're the chosen hero who can rise above anything and prove the doubters wrong. Like, you can complete all the guild quests no matter what skill set you have. You just rise in the ranks so quickly that people are bound to get jealous of you or practically suck you off. Sure, it's generic, but role-playing as the Dovahkiin is fun. The quests are memorable and entertaining. I just love going through them and interacting with all sorts of characters. And sure, the dialogue sequences are stiff in terms of animation, but I really find the writing and voice acting charming in its own way. And outside of the questing, adventuring is just really fun too. You'll be traveling to a quest and something will spark your interest like a bandit base or some undiscovered landmark. So you end up venturing into all sorts of dungeons and caves to fight enemies and discover loot. Even though those aspects alone weren't top-notch, it was still exciting somehow. And sometimes you discover quests from your random adventuring and curiosity. And that's the thing, the game is designed to have you wander and discover interesting things to do. I love the worlds that Bethesda created back then. Sure, I needed mods for certain aspects, but I just loved the quest lines and feelings of adventure from their games. Now, the last game I played that was developed and newly released from Bethesda was Fallout 4, but I didn't really play much of it. I just had trouble role-playing and getting attached to the world like I did with New Vegas, which was developed by Obsidian actually. Who knows though, I may return to Fallout 4 one day and have some newfound appreciation. But that was the last game I played that was released from Bethesda. Then like 2 or 3 years later, they already announced a new Fallout game, Fallout 76. I already had a bad fucking feeling because 1, I'm not really a fan of multiplayer games, so I knew I wasn't gonna purchase it. And 2, the release window was just too quick in my eyes. I had a feeling the game was gonna be unstable because Bethesda can barely make a polished single player game, so a multiplayer game would most likely be a fucking travesty. And boy, the outcome was even worse. They pretty much released a game with a soulless and lifeless world, the main aspect that made Bethesda games interesting, and the main content was pretty much the abundance of bugs. And from then on, Bethesda kept dropping the ball, being a constant subject of deserved ridicule and criticism. So now I just pray to anything that is holy that they wake the fuck up and realize what made their games great, and hopefully improve on polishing for the time of their new IP Starfield and the new Elder Scrolls title. Because damn, not many people are gonna stand for instability now. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.